Adapting a used car seat is one of the most cost-effective ways to add a high-quality seat to your Simracing cockpit. Car seats are comfortable, feature-rich, and can be had for a fraction of the price of a dedicated Simracing seat, if you're willing to put in the work. In this video, I'll go through what it takes to actually bolt one of these seats onto your rig and some of the challenges that you may encounter. And spoiler alert, I love my adapted car seat, but I never want to do this again. Keep watching to find out why. I have with me two car seats. This one is from a Volkswagen Golf. I picked it up from a junkyard and I chose it because it has really good neck support. And a lot of you called me out on my first video, which you can watch up here, that my current setup doesn't have enough neck support and it looks really awkward when I drive. So this should go some way to correcting that. And that seat over there is not the raciest looking seat. It's actually from a Hyundai imax and it's a middle row seat. But I got it for free because the owner was converting their van into a work vehicle and it was just taking up space on their porch. The first thing to do with your used car seats is definitely to give them a wash. I start with a vacuum, then a wet cloth, deodorizing spray, and a steam. Now that the seats are clean and fresh, and you've given this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and turned on notifications, let's look at how we're going to mount them. To put these seats on your rig, you'll generally want to bolt them straight down, which is not always possible because of this indexing pin, which is there to help with the assembly as well as crash safety of the cars, but it can get in the way of your simrig assembly. The Hyundai's indexing pin is actually way up here away from the mounting points, but those mounting points are at 45 degrees rather than straight up and down. To convert this to mount straight down, I'll use these brackets from the hardware store, which are a few dollars each. I'll spin this bracket until the free end faces sideways. Tighten it down, and this corner now has a side mount. Do the same thing on your flat mounting surface, spin the bracket until the free end matches up with the one on the seat, repeat for each corner, and that's how we'll get the seat mounted. The Golf seat is a little bit different. You can see that the indexing pins actually make it sit lopsided, but if you look past that, at the mounting points, they are level and they point straight up and down. So to mount this onto a flat surface, all you'd need to do is grind off that pin, but I'm not going to do that because I'm going to use the brackets in the same way that I showed before, and the pins don't get in the way. Just a few considerations. The height of the seat will dictate the height of the brackets that you'll use. The Hyundai seat over there is quite thick, so we'll want to use the lowest brackets we can. The Volkswagen seat, however, is quite a bit thinner, and that's going to give us a bit more flexibility in the size of brackets we use. To create my preferred formula style seating position, I'll be using a taller bracket up the front and a lower bracket at the back. The resulting incline does cause the top brackets to rotate relative to the lower bracket, which can cause these two brackets to foul on each other, which is why I had to grind the corner off this one to allow the two to mount at an angle. I'd also suggest that you fit both top and bottom brackets onto your seat so you can just set it down on your rig and bolt it in place. That's much easier than fitting the top and bottom brackets on separately and trying to hover the seat over the base while you slide a nut and bolt through. Let's go ahead and get both these seats installed now. I haven't bothered to dial in the ergonomics with this seat, but it's clear that it's very tall and upright. This won't win any awards for immersion for sim racing, but it would probably feel completely at home on a truck simulator. And let's not forget, it was completely free. Time to put the VW seat on now. And this is where things really started to unravel for me. Once the seat was mounted, my seating position was way left of center, and the seat rails are so wide, there was no scope for moving right within the rig. So to get the seat centered, I had to grind parts of the seat rail that were getting in the way, and also get really creative with the bracket combinations. So the seat is partially mounted to the cross profiles and partially mounted on the main frame rails of the rig, which are at different heights. Once the seat was in just about the right position, I was having trouble getting comfortable, and I realized the whole thing was pointing just slightly to the left, and this was really difficult to dial out. Because I had the seat mounted on the main profile of the rig, there was no side-to-side adjustability, which meant I had to cut a big slot into one of my mounting brackets, which is not the hardest thing to do, but it does really push the bounds of what a reasonable person would do to get a seat on the rig. With all the trial and error, I had to put the seat on and off the rig so many times that I scratched the heck out of my profiles, which doesn't bother me, but may be a deal breaker for some of you. And finally, this is entirely my fault because I'm forcing a regular passenger car seat into a reclined formula seating position. But I have my seat fully slid back on the rails, and that leaves the front of the rails exposed in front of the seat, which is ugly, but also gets in the way of these uprights which support my wheelbase. Which means I can't get the wheelbase close enough to me, forcing me into a more upright posture than I would like. To solve this, I do have a shaft extender, which I'm working on a video right now, and be sure to check that out when it releases. All in all, I'm really happy with my adapted car seat. Compared to my original setup, it is so much more comfortable and adjustable, but it was just so much work. Adapting a car seat to your rig should be pretty straightforward if you find a seat that's narrow enough, or you have a rig that's wide enough, and you prefer a regular upright seating position. But if you're like me and you prefer that reclined formula seating position, be prepared to put in an obscene amount of work.